welcome to another Tonic Craft Kit unboxing video. This one is for craft kit number 54 and it is called Wildflower Garden, and it is a fantastic kind of, could be a window, could be a mirror, kind of gorgeous archway design, and I think it's a quite a nice versatile one that you can use to cut windows into your card so you can see through the card. You can use it to create shakers, you can put mirror card behind it to give it that kind of mirror sort of effect, and I think it'd be really great for sort of interior and exterior sort of cards, because it is called Wildflower Garden, so it suggests that it's kind of like a window and then you'd be looking to the inside, but the main bit of the card would be the outside with all the flowers and stuff, but you can definitely use it in both ways as well. But let's get on to looking at everything that comes in this month's kit. So firstly, you can see that we have got another binder, so it's time for another binder in this gorgeous white theme that they've rebranded it into. This is the fourth binder, the fourth binder in the white that we've now had, unless I have missed one, but I think there's only been 4 of them. So that is the binder. They can store 4 kits in here, but I think they give them to you so you only store 3 in them. They give them to you often enough that you only have to store 3 in them. But if you don't get the kits all the time and you want to make use of storing other things in this folder, also the designer's choices, the small showcases, any of the A5 sort of stamps and die sets like the stamp clubs and stuff will all fit in here as well, because it's just a standard 2-hole like ring binder, so you can use that to store all of those kind of things. And for the small showcases, they're in the square folders, so they will fit on the 2-ring system. They'll just sort of be floating a little bit, they won't quite reach the bottom, but you can definitely put them in here as well if you want to mix and match what you're storing in your folders. So we've got that. Then we have got our lovely bag of Nouveau goodies. So as always, we always get a lovely selection of Nouveau goodies, and we also have, you probably noticed under that bag, we also have a full packet of cards and envelopes, and they are in the bright white colour, and they are the US A2 size. I'm still not sure why it says US A6 on there. Actually, maybe they are, no, I think they're A2. Actually, they're bigger than an A2 card. I thought an A2 card was 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches, but these seem to be 4 1/2 inches by 6 1/4. So I'm not actually sure what size they are, but you've got a full pack of 10 of them. I think it's 10, yeah, 10, and you have the envelopes as well, and the cards are actually 300 GSM, so if you love working directly onto a card blank, rather than creating a card panel like I tend to do and stick it onto a card blank, these are great for working directly onto, because they're really nice and thick, so you don't feel the need to have to like layer stuff up on top of them. And you also get the envelopes, which are 120 GSM, so a nice good quality envelope to go with them as well. And having them in the bright white colour means that you can do any kind of inking or colouring and stuff on them as well, and you're going to get the true colours of whatever product you're using on there as well. So I'm going to take one of them out and give you a definite size for these. Yeah, they're definitely bigger than an A2 and an A6 kind of size of card. So they are 4 1/2 inches, which is 11 1/2 centimetres, by 6 1/4 inches, which is just under 16 centimetres. So they're kind of an in-between size between an A6 and a 5x7. I have actually got a card blank of each of those here. Let me get them to compare. I'm sure there's not many of you who are actually really wanting to know what size these are, but as I have the card blanks here, I will show you a comparison so that you can see exactly what size these ones are. So the first one in this pile is a standard A6 card. The middle one is what we're getting, and the one on the outside is a 5x7 card. So you can see it's well, it's not quite 5x7 proportions. It is actually, it's an A6 proportion. The card we're getting is an A6 proportion. It's just a bit bigger than an A6. So it's got about, I'd say about a centimetre No, a bit less. No, about a centimetre, yeah. I was looking on the inches again. I keep doing that recently. You've got about a centimetre taller and a centimetre wider than a standard A6 card. So maybe that's why they're called US A6. Maybe that is the A6 size in the US. I don't know. I didn't know they had... Because I don't know, I'm confused now. No wonder everybody else gets confused with different sizes, because A2 in the UK is enormous. So yeah, anyway, that is the size of these card blanks that we're getting in this month's craft kit. So you've got a full pack of 10 of them with the envelopes. Then all of the Nouveau stuff that we're getting. Firstly, we are getting an Aqua Flow in here, but I think it's going to be just a random selection of one of the Arabian Nights colours. So I got the cinnamon stick, and if you get the cinnamon stick, it is the absolute perfect colour for colouring in terracotta flower pots, and you'll see why that's a good colour to have when we look at the die set, but perfect colour for that. And the other two colours that come in that Arabian Night set, which I think you could get one of these, is Wild Phlox and French Wine. But although this one's perfect for the flower pots, if you got either of these two, they're perfect for flowery designs as well, or for creating lovely backgrounds using your Nouveau drops and glitter and stuff to accent them too. So I think whatever colours you end up getting, they're going to go really nicely with this kit. It's a really nice set to have a random one from. So you're getting one of those Aqua Flows, and those are the three that they could be. Then we're also getting another one of these gorgeous new shape of bottle, and I'm pretty sure that this is a brand new colour, so I presume it will be exclusive to the kit. So this is the Purple Shimmer glitter. So it's a pure sheen glitter with that usual sort of grade of glitter, not quite like ultra fine, but a very fine glitter, but just not ultra kind of like dusty fine, but really lovely colour. And you're getting 50 mils in here as well, so it's a lovely decent sized bottle. The older style of bottles were 35 millilitres, so you're definitely getting more in this bottle, which means it can go, you know, a lot further for different techniques. I used it on the cards that passed me, we'll show you later, but I do have one of those backgrounds left to show a use of it on there as well. But I have shown you lots of uses for glitter in the past too, using it just as like accents with your double-sided tape. You can run your double-sided tape across your pattern paper. One of the pattern papers would be really good for that because it's stripy, and then you can add your glitter on top of that. You can just put little dots of glue and add your glitter on top of that. You can mix it in with other products as well, or sprinkle it on top of products whilst they're wet, which I have done with the crystal drops, which I'll show you later. Or you can also do the kind of ideas I've shown you before, where you've like flooded an area with glue, put loads of sequins onto it. Then you can use glitter like this to sort of fill in all of the excess areas of glue without having to worry about them drying, and that you can see the glue. You can cover it with glitter. Or actually, that was me thinking I didn't have a lot to say about glitter, but there's also, if you're doing paper piecing and you get fed up partway through, or, you know, you can't be bothered to cut the shape another time to fill in all the different bits and pieces, if you've used double-sided adhesive sheets underneath before you started paper piecing, you can then fill in the rest of the areas with glitter as well. And that's, well, I suppose it's probably one of the main uses that I use the Nouveau glitter for, actually. Because it works really, really nicely. And you can also use your glitter with stencils as well. I've done that in the past, where you've put a stencil onto double-sided adhesive sheet. You put one colour through, make sure it's burnished in nicely and you've got all the excess off. Then you can remove the stencil and put another colour of glitter or gilding flakes or something onto the rest of the adhesive that's been hidden by the stencil. And that gives a really cool result as well. So I think I just reeled off about 6 different ideas just with the glitter. So that is the Purple Shimmer glitter that we're getting in this month's kit. Then we have also got a full-sized Nouveau crystal drop, and this is the pink orchid colour. I could have just looked on the bottle, but I was looking on my phone instead. So this is the gorgeous pink orchid colour. I think this is fairly recent, although the time's going so quickly it's difficult to tell what is definitely fairly recent. But yeah, it's one of the sort of colour trendy kind of colours that's been out within the last like 3 years or so. So it's a really pretty pink metallic colour. It has that metallic finish to it there, which goes perfectly with some of the other elements of the kit. But also if you get the wild phlox, they're like a perfect combination of colours. The wild phlox is just like a slightly darker tone of this kind of a pink, so they'll work really nicely together. And Nouveau drops, there's tons of ways that you can use them. You might think you can only just use them to make your gorgeous little self-leveling pearls, but you can do sort of swirling with them, swirl 2 colours together. You can sprinkle the glitter on top of them to make purple glittery ones rather than the pink. You might even see some of the pink through, which would look really lovely as well. You can do squishy kind of backgrounds with your Nouveau drops, which I have done for one of the cards that Past Me will show you later on, and I do have a duplicate of the background that I'll show you when I show you the extra samples that I've done as well. But yeah, there's loads of different ways of using your Nouveau crystal drops. Don't just think you have to just use them as little drops. So for example, if you are a massive tonic fan or a tonicaholic and you already have lots of the colours of Nouveau things that you're getting in the kit, as long as you don't have like somebody who you could pass them on to, you know, give them as a gift, you could definitely use any of your duplicates to do more fun different kinds of techniques that you might not have done before because you didn't want to waste the only bottle of something that you had. But if you already had this one, you know, you could keep the new bottle to use just for your Nouveau drops and then allocate the old bottle to use for like more mixed media kind of ideas and stuff, and have a play with that, because you can also use them through stencils as well. They look really great through stencils. So that is the full-sized Nouveau drop. Then you're also getting a mini Nouveau crystal glaze. So I don't know if you've seen the crystal glaze before. I think it's been a while since we've had it in a kit, unless we had a full-sized one not that long ago. I'm not sure, but it's kind of like glossy accents, but it's slightly more liquidy. So it's very good for applying over larger areas because it self-levels out really nicely because it's got a slightly thinner consistency. And it's also great to apply with an old paintbrush if you want to make something look shiny, like a leaf or something. You know, you could paint it over a leaf and leave it dry, and it would give that lovely shiny finish to it as well. But you're getting a little mini one to have a try with it and see if you like it. And I would presume the reason why they've given it to us in this kit is so that you could do like tiny little drops on some of the flowers or the leaves that are in here, and give the kind of like little raindrop look. Or you could probably use it, I mean, it might be difficult with this tiny little pot, but if you did have a bigger pot of it, you could probably use it with the main die from this die set and like use it to create window panes, and it would look like glass in there with this gorgeous crystal glaze on there too. So definitely give those kind of ideas a go. But if you do like the Nouveau crystal glaze, once you've tried this little sample of it, a full-size bottle will be this size, which is 50 millilitres. So I think the samples are 5, so you can get a bottle that's 10 times the size of this little one, and have a play with it and do larger areas of detail and stuff with it too. So that's the little mini one that we're getting in the kit. And then finally for the Nouveau, we're also getting a mini Nouveau embellishment mousse, and this is the Indian gold colour, which I think the last time we had Indian gold was the very first kit, like kit number 1 with that hedgehog. I think we had an Indian gold then. Mine looks really funny because I was actually using the brush, which you're also getting in the kit, one of the dual-ended Nouveau ink blending brushes that have got the coarse kind of bristles on here. And I've actually been using mine in the pot. You can just about fit these bristles in these little mini pots, so they're really good for that kind of application. And you can just get a little bit of it on your bristles and then like dry brush it across embossing folders. It looks fantastic on. Or later on I will show you a couple of examples where I have used waste pieces from the die set to create like a faux brick wall, and then I've like dry brushed this on and it looks fantastic. Or dry brushing it onto flower pots as well, all of which I'll show you later too. But this is the gorgeous colour of mousse that we're getting, the Indian gold. It's a quite an orange kind of gold, but it's a really gorgeous gold actually. I do reach for this one a lot. I don't actually have this in a full size. I've only been using mini pots for this kind of colour, but really lovely colour, and I'm glad to have another mini one of it as well to keep me topped up on the colour. So that is that. And you have the brush too, and the brush has got, as I said, sort of really coarse bristles on it. I was actually using it to do some ink blending as well, so any of your inks that you have, like your distress inks, your oxide, stuff like that, you can definitely do some ink blending with this as well. If you saw my video that I did a while back showing you all the different types of blending tools that Nuvo have, I showed these in that as well, and you'll be able to see in that the comparison between like the toothbrush style blending brushes, the large round Nuvo blending brushes and stuff as well, because you do get a more textured finish when using this kind of stiff bristled brush, because obviously the bristles sort of hold on to the ink and give you that kind of scratchy kind of texture. But for things like flower pots or making brickwork and stuff, that kind of texture is exactly what you want. So it's really nice to have a selection of different sort of blending tools in your stash. And as I was showing you, you can use it with your embellishment mousses as well. And because when you're tapping it into your small pot or even one of your larger pots for a different colour, you don't get too much on the bristles. But if you did find that there was too much, you can just keep rubbing it on a piece of scrap paper and you'll get that kind of colour off. Or if you've only got one and you're moving between different colours of ink pads, you can definitely just brush this off onto scrap paper and then, you know, change colour with it as well. So it's quite nice to get one of these to try in the kit too. They usually come in packets of 2 as well, so if you do want to stock up on any of them, you can get packets of 2 of these, or they also do mini versions as well if you'd rather, because I know sometimes it's a little bit tricky knowing where to store something that's double-ended. So if you are limited on space, or you know, you're not that keen on the double-ended style of it, they do actually sell mini versions. They have less bristles. If I squeeze them all together, there's, you know, maybe half the amount of bristles on there, and they are in like a little smaller handle, and they come in a little pack of 3 as well, so you can get it in that kind of fashion too. And also, actually, the why I keep this one on my desk is for like burnishing. So you know, when you've used gilding flakes, say for example you've stamped with some glue to give yourself a design, or you've intricately die cut some double-sided sheet or something, and you've got quite an intricate design that you're adding your gilding flakes to. If you have like large flakes, they tend to span across the design and like hide an area of it, and you kind of think to yourself, oh, that looks a bit rubbish, because, you know, it's hiding part of that detail and you feel like you can't get the flakes off of it. But these kind of brushes work really nicely to kind of burnish that excess of like flakes and stuff off of things. So that is why I always keep one of these, a clean one, on my desk to use for that kind of project as well. You know, you never know when you're going to need that kind of thing. You can also use them for like brushing off excess glitter from things as well. So if you had been using your glitter and you'd been putting it onto little dobs of glue all over your card, maybe in like the flower centres or something, leave it till it's completely dry, and then you can come back with your little brush or your double-ended one, obviously if it hasn't got any ink on it, and you can just wipe away excess glitter as well. It grips quite nicely to the glitter and brushes it away, so you can definitely use your brush for those kind of applications if you didn't want to get it dirty with inks and mousses and stuff as well. So next, let's have a look at all of the papers from this month's kit. I did only get sent 1 sheet of each of them, so I have used half of each sheet, so they are just kind of a bit bigger than A5 sheets that I've got left here. But you will be getting full A4 sheets in your kit, and we've actually got 11 different card and paper from the normal like Craft Perfect range, and we have 2 sheets of pattern paper that coordinate as well. So let's have a look through all of the colours. So the first 3 are all the classic cardstock that have that texture on one side and then they're smooth on the other, and we have avocado green, which is this dark one. We've got amethyst purple, which is one of my favourite purples, and we also have pine tree green, which is the newest kind of green that came out in the Santa's Workshop colour trend. So if you haven't had the Santa's Workshop colour trend, or you wanted to try this green, you've got a sheet of that in this kit, and it works really nicely for the foliage. You've got 3 different greens to use for your foliage, which is really lovely. Then mirror card wise, we have got a sheet of the glossy black, which you can just see my camera reflected in there, and we've also got a sheet of the holly green. So these are both high gloss mirror cards, you can see from the reflection in them. Then we also have a satin mirror card as well, which is the pink chiffon, so really beautiful pink. This is really lovely for cutting your flowers out as well. I was using a mixture of the purple, the pink and the red to cut my flowers out. I didn't think to use the gold or the yellowy gold, but that would have worked really nicely as well for the flowers. Then we have one sheet of the Firestone red iridescent mirror card. So you've got 3 different types of mirror card to try in here. It's hard to see the rainbow on camera. I think why they call this one Firestone red is because that kind of rainbow finish is more like just yellow, orange and red, and maybe a bit of pink in here as well, rather than having the entire rainbow like in the Hollow Waves colour. But the Firestone red is just all those sort of fiery warm colours. Then we also have a sheet of 2 sheets of Pearlescent Cardstock. One of them is Onyx Black and the other one is Lemon Luster, and the Pearlescent cardstock is double-sided as well, so you've got that pearlescent finish on both sides. And actually, looking in the camera, I don't know if I've ever noticed that before, you actually can't really see that in real life. It's kind of got a little bit of a green pearlescence on that black as well, so it'll tie in really nicely with foliage and stuff too, which is really nice. So those are all of the cardstocks, and you will be getting A4 sheets of each of those. And then you're also going to be getting 2 A4 sheets. I kept one whole, but I've been using bits of the other one, of patterned paper, which go along with the kit. So the first sheet is, well, they're both exactly the same. They've just got a different pattern on each side. But the first pattern on this is a gorgeous light yellow kind of colour that goes really nicely with that Lemon Luster Pearlescent card. And then it's got white little outline leaf designs all over it, sort of randomly. And then on the back of it, so you can use 1 sheet of each, or you can use 2 sheets of both if you want to, or just completely mix and match both sheets. And on the back of it, you have got a gorgeous, kind of like a pinstripe, or it's reminding me of a deck chair kind of design, with different widths of stripes on here. So you've got a dark red, a dark pink and then a light pink, all in different widths with the same amount of white space between each of the stripes as well. And this is the one I was saying, if you take your different widths of tape, you can actually like run this either going with the stripes or going against the stripes and try and get it perpendicular, or you could do it diagonally actually, and then you could sprinkle on your glitter on here as well to kind of give your pattern paper more of like a luxury feel with that glittery finish as well. Or you could actually go along these larger stripes in particular and do little mini Nouveau drops all the way along them as well to accent it too. So actually I was going to say you could also maybe use your gold mousse and water it down and paint with it and colour in these leaves, but I think maybe they're a little bit too fine. It's deceptive when I'm looking in the screen and I see what I'm showing on the camera, because I think, oh, those leaves are really big, and then I look at it in real life and I'm like, oh, okay, they're not that big. But yeah, I was thinking you could colour them, but I think that would take you quite a while, but you could have a go at doing that if you wanted to. So those are all of the Craft Perfect that we're getting in the kit as well. And then finally, what you've all been waiting for is the stamps and dies. And actually, in this month, I also got the sticker. So we've got Wildflower Garden, gorgeous like light yellow sort of background with the yellow font and little butterflies and the little garden fence on there as well. So really pretty little sticker. And then we have got the stamp set and the die set to show you as well. You don't get your die set on a magnetic sheet. I always feel like I should say that just in case you think that it comes on one, but it actually comes split in half on 2 different sheets of acetate inside the folder. But I like to store mine on a magnetic sheet because I feel like it keeps it all together better. But this month's die set has got a lot of tiny little elements, so when I've placed this back on the magnetic sheet, I've tried to, wherever I can, place the little elements inside the window design, so that, you know, if the magnetic sheet sort of, you know, bent a little bit or, you know, moved as I took it out, these would be less likely to fall off because they're inside that frame. But a top tip that I often do with die sets when I'm putting them onto magnetic sheets. If there are really small elements that I'm worried about them falling off, for example, if I didn't have a die like this to sort of place these ones in between, I often keep that foam tape that they stick the dies onto the acetate sheets with, and I stick that onto my magnetic sheet, and then I place the dies onto that. So if they fell off the foam, then they would probably catch onto the magnetic sheet, but they've got that little extra bit of stability or security holding them onto there as well. So if you ever worry about that, save those little bits of foam tape and stick them to your magnetic sheet to hold the little dies in place. So let's have a close-up look at, let's do the stamp set first. So in the stamp set we have 3 different sentiments. So we've got wishing you a bright and beautiful day in a gorgeous scripty kind of font, mixed with a little bit of like a almost a typewriter-y kind of font as well, but a really lovely laid out sentiment that's very easy to cut into a square or draw a square around and cut it out like I always tend to do. You've also got hello, which again looks very typewriter-y. So if you have any of the typewriter sets that have come out recently, whether it's the 3-dimensional typewriter that was on Create and Craft, or whether it is the showcase that was called Lovable Library, you could use that kind of little hello with that as well. And then there's also the little bloom and grow, which is kind of like capitalised typewriter-y font with a scripty and in the centre. Then you also have 3 stamps here that coordinate with dies from the die set. So you've got a large planter, then you've got an actual sort of flower pot. This can be a large like terracotta flower pot as well. And then you've got the smaller flower pot, and you've also got the butterfly too, and they fit perfectly onto the dies. I'll show you that in a second. I didn't actually end up stamping the flower pots or any of the flowers actually. I got a little bit carried away with the dies and cut so many bits and pieces out that I just had enough to sort of use them to make a lot of cards with. But you could definitely easily make some gorgeous cards, you know, focusing on these little stamped flowers and putting them in the flower pots as well. So you've got the main flower pots, you've got the butterfly, you also have a little section of brick as well that you can stamp multiple times to build up a brick pattern, or later on I'll show you how to use the waste from the actual main window die to create a brick wall as well. And then you have 5 different floral elements. So you've got these ones, I suppose they're not as florally, they're more like little greenery poking up, and this one is sort of more greenery as well. But these would fit nicely in the small pot, or you could stamp them twice or both next to each other in the larger pot. You've got a little cluster of flowers in there as well. You have got these kind of flowers that have got a longer stem with multiple flowers on, and then you have a lovely cluster of a lot of flowers together with a bit of foliage in there too. So you can mix and match whether you use them in whichever flower pot, and you could even just have them individually as well. You could stamp these two especially in like a light colour of ink, tone on tone, to one of the papers or the card blanks to create like a really subtle background, and then add a bit of ink blending and stuff over the top as well. I think that would be a really lovely result. Or if you have embossing powders, you could definitely do some heat embossing over a background and give it like a little ditzy kind of pattern that's sort of raised up all over it, and the butterflies would go nicely with that kind of thing as well. So you've got all of those little stamped elements, and I mostly just use the sentiments and the butterfly from this, but I'm sure other people on the design team will show you other ideas of using the stamps with. I just got carried away with all of the bits that I had die cut. So while we're talking about those stamps, I'll show you the coordinating dies. So you've got one that cuts out that small flower pot, and then you also have this one that cuts out the larger flower pot, and then you also have the butterfly too. And later on, when Past Me shows you some cards, I showed you a tip for getting that butterfly cut out perfectly, because as you can see, the metal goes over the top of it. I do actually have one of them cut out here, because I hadn't realised to begin with that the butterfly was mostly meant to cut the stamp out rather than just being a butterfly by itself. So that's what the die looks like, but you could use that as a butterfly by itself. I just hadn't realised that there was a stamp that went with it, but you could definitely just you know, fold the body up so the wing, oh, that's kind of creased it, but you could definitely use them like that, just die cut out as well on your cards too, depending what kind of look you're going for. So they're really sweet little butterflies. Or you can use the apertures and cut them into little squares like I've shown you in the past, or with the rabbits recently in the designer's choice. I showed you how to cut like a random quadrilateral around them and create a cool card like that as well. So those are the dies that coordinate with this little mini stamp set. And then I'll go through all of the rest of the dies as well. So you've got lots of options with this die set, as always with Tonic die sets. It's really nice that they give you so many different options and they've thought about different ways that you can use it as well. But you can actually like turn this into a gorgeous window, or that could be a mirror. You can turn it into a window that has beautiful shutters on it, maybe on the inside of the window or on the outside of the window, and have them opening. Or you can actually turn it into like a wrought iron kind of gate, and maybe turn it into like a secret garden kind of card and have this as the gate, and build up foliage around it. Use either the little brick stamp or the idea that I show you later, how to make a brick wall around it as well, and you could really turn it into like a magical sort of garden as well. So the first die is just the archway here. So you've actually got a gorgeous large archway which works really nicely on the small kind of size cards, but you can definitely build it up or use multiples on a larger card. If you, hang on, how tall is this? Yeah, it might have to be wider than a DL card, but if you did like a long card, you could do 3 of these gorgeous windows on there. That would look really lovely. But this actual archway measures 2 3/4 inches or 7 centimetres by just under 4 inches or roughly 10 centimetres. So it's a decent sized little window that can definitely be built up and used for larger or smaller projects as well. And you have this as a separate outside edge. So the other ones, actually no, it's mostly just this one that needs it. The other ones have hinge portions on them to make the little doors kind of work, so you probably wouldn't need this with them unless you were doing some kind of idea where you wanted the actual frame around it as well. But you know, you can play around with that when you get your die set. So you've got the main shape, and you will want to cut this first to give you your actual shape, because the way they've done it to get this gorgeous framework and have a small sort of edge around here, they've done it so you can't cut them together, you have to cut them individually. And then you can cut that beautiful decorative detail onto it once it's cut. So you can see, once that's cut, you can just easily line it up, obviously up the other way, but you can easily line it up with an even border around the edge and die cut that through to give you your window frame. Or you can cut this straight into the card. I have an example of that as well that I could show you. You can cut it straight into the card, maybe make a shaker behind it, or one of the cards that passed me will show you later. I cut it into the card and into the card blank so that you could see all the way through into the card. And I didn't actually put acetate on it, but you could definitely put acetate on there as well to make it sturdier, or have a shaker that makes you be able to see through inside the card too. You can definitely mix and match it like that as well. Yeah, so you can cut that one in there, but save all of these rectangles that fall out, because these are the pieces that you can use as bricks to turn it into a brick wall on a different project as well. And I think it works out really nicely. And using this brush, this is how I was adding texture to my bricks as well. I was using pumice stone distress ink on this side, and then I was using the Indian Gold Nouveau Mousse on this side, and those two together were giving a really nice kind of sandstone kind of brick wall sort of a look. So that works really nicely for that kind of thing. But as well as having this option of the window, you also have this option, which kind of gives the shutters here. This would actually fit inside this as well, so you could cut these together if you wanted that narrow frame all the way around the edge. But on this one, this piece falls away and these two pieces stay intact with hinges along here. So this actually creates a shutter mechanism, and the shutters could be on the outside of the window. So this window could just be showing in this section behind, and then you open the shutters and they're, you know, protecting the outside of the window. Or it could be a card where you're inside looking outside, or you can put the window frame on top and have this be the outside of the card, but the shutters are on the inside of the window, which is how I did one of my cards. And to decorate the shutters, you also have these two panels, which you can die cut into that design and give yourself some beautiful decorative detail. Or on the card that Past Me will show you later, I actually debossed the detail into the shutters, so they had like an embossed kind of look. I did use the pink chiffon satin mirror card, but if you'd used maybe some craft card or a brown cardstock, it would have given that kind of like carved wood sort of look to them as well, doing the debossing into it, which I think you know, would be a lovely effect for a different type of card, maybe like a medievally kind of card with like wooden shutters on the window or something. You could definitely mix up the styles with what colours you're using with them, and whether you're die cutting the decoration or embossing it and stuff as well. And talking of that kind of thing, if you have die cut the detail, you can just cut another one of these and trim off these doors and stick them to the back of it to make it solid behind, if you don't want to be able to see through them. And if you are doing that, you might want to swap the sides so that the professional edge would be on the inside of the shutter. So if you have the two shutters like this, your die cut panel would be on the outside with the pretty side facing up, but when you open them, you'd obviously have the back of the die cutting, but if you put a solid panel on them, you could make it so the professional edge was then showing, so that when you opened them, you then got a pretty edge on that side as well. Because if you're adding a piece of card to the back of them, you might as well make it the professional edge when you open them. Obviously not if you're putting like mirror card behind, because you don't want the back of the mirror card showing through all the detail, but just like the Textured Craft Perfect or something, you could do it like that, so that you've got a professional edge on the inside of your shutters as well. But if you don't want to do shutters and you want to go for, I reckon this would make a really lovely garden gate, or even like a church door as well. This kind of one has got a complete divide down the centre of it. It will also fit in the same arched doorway sort of shape or window, so that you can have that little door frame or window frame around it as well. But I mean, this could be, I suppose, it could be a window just with full length shutters, or you can do it into a door, which I think looks really lovely as a door, or a wrought iron gate as well, because you have the black cardstock in this kit to easily turn it into a wrought iron gate. And then if you are doing that, you can die cut this beautiful delicate detail into it and have it so it's see-through and you can see on the inside. And if you were doing like the Secret Garden kind of a card, you could have your brickwork on the outside, your gorgeous wrought iron gate, and then you could find maybe a photograph you've taken of a park that you love, or somewhere that you've been on holiday, or you could download a picture off the internet and put it on the inside, so then they could open the doors and there would be a beautiful garden inside the doors as well. Or this could be a front door to a house and like on the inside, and then you'd open the doors and see the outside. Or it could be a church door and you could open the doors and see the married couple inside as well. So you can definitely play around with what you would want to use this for too, which is really nice. So those are like the main dies from the set. And then you also have lots of decoration options. So what I was showing you before with the flower pots, you can just use the flower pots by themselves, and that is how I've used them on the couple of cards that I have used them on. So you can definitely just use the flower pots by themselves, or you can combine them with the stamp, and then you can have stamped flowers coming out of them. But you also have tons of different options for floral elements, as well as like larger foliage pieces that will drape around this really nicely. So, you know, if this is the sort of frame of it, you've got these pieces that will drape around the top archway perfectly, or you can snip them. I was snipping round this leaf here and just round that swirl to get a small section that's relatively straight that I could put further down here. And on this one, I think I went up here and snipped off that leaf just there, and then I got a smaller section that I could layer down here to bring the design down as well. Oh, and actually saying that, the card that I was doing that on, I had cut 2 of these, so I had made it a DL card. I'll show you that in a second. And then, so I cut this one once into the card, and then I flipped it like this and lined up the bottom portion of these smaller rectangles to try and make them an even kind of rectangle shape with this one. And then cut it again to do a really long double rounded rectangle as well, and it works really nicely for doing that. But if you were clever with your die cutting, you could probably also elongate just the square portions as well, and you know, have like a long patio door, or the kind of windows you might get in a gorgeous botanical greenhouse or something. You know, you could play around with that kind of theme as well. Maybe actually, I keep going off on lots of tangents, but if you had the Scenic Sentiments showcase that had the 4 different rectangles, and one of them had that patio door in it as well, you could like create a larger card and have this as the window next to the patio door or something. Or you could put some of those gorgeous tropical flowers in this if you were going to turn it into like a greenhouse or botanical greenhouse kind of window or door as well. So yeah, there's so many different ways that you can play with this set and mix and match it with everything else that you have. Then on the same line as large bits of foliage, you also have this gorgeous one too, which is a lovely just sort of little curve, which again would curve really nicely around one side of this. It would be this way if you've cut it, but for like a wedding card you could have gorgeous foliage coming around part of the window or the doors or something, and then you could have like a little stamped image here. You could just have the sentiment. You can put loads of flowers all over this. You can change it up for the different seasons as well. You can do all sorts with it. I actually did one of the ones that passed me will show you. I went with the purples and the blacks from the kit and a bit of pink, so it kind of looks a little bit more Halloween-y as well, so you can definitely play around with that theme too. There's also these little dies which I was really enjoying. They are ivy. So you've actually got 2 different ivy dies, and it really looks like the ivy is hanging from the pot. So I was using it in conjunction with the little flower pots, and if you put them together, the ivy really does look like it's growing out of the pot and dangling down like it normally does, which I thought was really lovely. Or you can just use the ivy, you know, on like the archway and stuff as well. You can have it sort of draping down one side and just use a few of them together to have that kind of gorgeous look. And I suppose this could kind of be a pergola or something as well, and you could have like the flowers growing on it, or you could do lots of flowers growing up it, so it could be like training sweet peas or something. So yeah, there are so many different ways. Every time I look at one of the other dies I think of another way that you could use it, so very versatile. You also have a little grass die, which I think is, yeah, the perfect kind of width to go in the bottom of the window, depending if it's indoor or outdoor. Or you could use them either side. If you are using it as a door, you could use the grass either side. You could put the grass, you could cut a piece of the grass off and put it into the flower pot, the larger flower pot as well, and then have some flowers growing out of it too. You could just use the flowers growing out of the grass as well. Then if I move all of these over here, you'll be able to see all of those in one go. And first of all, I'll show you the 2 sentiments. You've actually got this like little plaque sort of one with 2 little divots in there as if it's like screwed in somewhere. And then you have the option of different words to go into them. So you can do home, or you can also do welcome. And then you have a different option for a little sign too. So it's like an oval sign with 2 little rods or chains coming off of it. So you can hang that from somewhere as well. So lovely little accents to add onto there. And you could also stamp hello inside one of them too. So you could definitely do that as well. And then the final element to this die set are all these tiny little dies, and you can see just how many options you have for flowers and stuff. And I love this one. I mean, you'd think these flowers are going to be a nightmare to stick down, but they're actually quite easy to stick down. And I was shaping them, so when you cut them out, they give you that little like embossed hole in the centre because of the release holes to poke them out of the die. But if you take a really fine ball tool, like a 1mm one, or you could probably even use your pokey tool actually as well, and press down in the centre, it kind of makes them cup upwards, and they look really cute, and I'll show you that on a card too. But you can also then layer these flowers on top of any of the elements here. So you can cut these, all of these from green, and then cut these from your beautiful purple, pink, red and yellow kind of colours from the kit, or anything else that you have in your stash, and you can add them on top of these. So like this one's got 2 small flowers, but then it has a larger flower, so then you've got a larger flower that you can cut individually, or an even larger flower, or an even larger flower as well, that you can add onto there and really change up what they look like. And you've got this gorgeous little one too, with 2 small flowers, and when I was adding them to this, I think I also stuck it on this little bud here as well. You've got this kind of one that looks a little bit like a dandelion growing in the grass, and you could add flowers to that as well if you want to. So you've got so many options for adding foliage and florals to this window. And what I was saying about like a sweet pea kind of idea, I mean, I know you haven't actually got a sweet pea die in here, but you could definitely just like use a load of these little branches and make it look like it's trailing all the way up there. Or you could cut into this one, and this one I suppose does look a bit more like sweet peas because it's got all those little curls in it, and you could cut bits out of it and curl them around the frame as well to make it look like it's climbing up that as well, which I think would look really fantastic. So lots and lots of different ideas or themes that you could turn this into depending on who you're making the card for as well. So I'll put all of these away, and then I'll come back and show you the extra 2 samples and a couple more ideas and stuff that you can do with this. Okay, so a couple of extra ideas that I thought were quite good is like turning this into a mirror. So I think it's like quite a trendy interior design thing at the moment to have like black frames with mirrors in. So this could be like a mirror on an interior wall, and you could use one of the pattern papers as like a wallpaper or something. I mean, maybe the stripes is a little bit bold, but you could definitely do some kind of like wallpaper design. Maybe the like really subtle little flowers stamped all over it or something, in like a tone on tone would look really nice. And then you could have like a mirror, but this was just using silver mirror from my stash. You don't get a sheet of silver mirror in the kit, but that was like another idea that I had that I didn't end up finishing off. Also, these pieces that fell out of the shutter, so the one that has the small little shutters, I just thought they made a really nice shape coming together in the middle. You could do something with that, maybe even put them above and below each other, or I'm not sure, but I just felt like they were quite a nice shape that came out of them, so you could definitely use that on a project as well. Then I have also got a leftover background from one of the cards that passed me, will show you, just doing like a squish with the Nouveau drops and sprinkling in some of that gorgeous glitter as well. And you can see just how sparkly and beautiful that glitter is, and how nicely it adheres to wet drops as well. So whether this is a messy background like this, or whether you've just done Nouveau drops, the glitter will stick to it really nicely. But the thing I love about squishes when you do it with Nouveau drops and stuff is you get this like texture here. I mean, I did use it behind one of the windows, but it kind of, I mean, I know it's in pink, but it kind of gives me underwater kind of a feel. With this, it kind of looks like coral or seaweed or something, so I just love that kind of technique, and you've probably seen me do it quite a lot. And then I also rescued these little pieces, which I did have laid out nice and neatly, but I knocked it and they all fell off. But it was keeping the waste from the archways that I had cut out of red and gold, or the yellow pearlescent cardstock. But you can actually, if you've got the pieces left over from 2, you can piece them back together. You might have to fiddle around with the actual placement to get them more perfect, but I don't mind higgledy-piggledy kind of look. But you could actually, I mean, not necessarily onto the actual archway piece, but you could definitely create some extra like mosaic kind of patterns just using all of these leftover pieces. And I think this yellow colour, if you cut a circle out and went in the middle and you just did all this from yellow, it would look like a really cool cartoony sunshine or something. Or if you've got a little kid that loves Teletubbies, you could do the little sun rays around a little circle picture of their face or something and make them look like the baby in the sunshine. Or you could do this multiple times over a card to create a really cool funky background with lots of designs in as well. So you don't even have to go with the window idea, and this is just those pieces from there. and then you just put the other 6 going round that way as well. So you could definitely play with all of these pieces, and then it was all of these little bits here that create your little brick background, so you can use them. They're not all the same. I think it's the outer 2 possibly that are slightly narrower than the inner 2, but I quite liked that look of the oddness of it, because it gives it a little bit more like whimsical charm as well. So talking about the little brick wall, past me will show you another card with that later, but this is one of the ones that I have done using that brick wall and with the pumice stone ink and then the gold mousse over the top of it. So you've got the gold mousse on the bricks applied with the brush, and then I also did the gold mousse on the terracotta pots applied with the brush as well. And past me in a minute, after I've shown you these, we'll show you exactly how I coloured the terracotta pots as well, using that cinnamon stick Aqua flow. So if you have that one or you get that one, this is the colour that it comes out, which is just perfect for terracotta pots as well. Then, for all of the elements in these ones, as I was saying before, I really love the ivy, and you can see, I mean, I layered up a couple of colours to make it look a bit different. You could come back in with a white gel pen, or maybe if you have a cream coloured paint marker or something, and do that sort of patterning that ivy has on it as well, but just leaving it solid green looks really lovely too. And I've just done 3 different pieces there in 2 different greens and layered them up so it looks like it's growing out of the pot and coming down the wall. Then I've done this one, which is very chock-a-block with loads of these little purple flowers, and then I've done another little floral one down here as well. And that's what I was saying about just like poking them in the centre to cup them upwards, and they just look so beautiful. They look so sweet and dainty. That's the tiny little flower that cuts 5 at a time, so I just cut that die 4 times, so I've got 20 little flowers going on there. And you know, it's so quick and easy to do, and is so effective as well. And then to tie the purple up to here, because I didn't put any flowers on the ivy, I've put the sentiment up there and backed it with a little bit of the same purple card as well. So I really like the simplicity of that one, and that's not even using the window as well. I think all of the other cards that I have to show you, you know, that past me will show you in a minute, I've used the window, but that one is not using the actual window as a window, it's using the waste pieces to make bricks. And then this was the DL card that I was talking about as well, where I cut it once and then I flipped it, and then I cut it again to get a long design. And I really like how this one turned out as well, the way it's got the double curves on it. And I've just used loads of the different greenery and created a whole frame all the way around it. I mean, I'm not really sure what this would be, but it just gives a nice kind of long design for a card. And I definitely think embossing with just white on white again, but with an embossing folder, that background piece would look really lovely. Or using perhaps you've got in your stash like one of the handmade cotton papers that Tonic do in a white pearlescent kind of finish, that behind this would look lovely as well, because it would just give a little bit of texture but not detracting from the flowers and stuff. But it's really easy just to build up all of this, and this portion here is part of that arched foliage as well. So I've got one more cut here. If I show you on this, it's this piece here. See, this piece coming out here is actually this portion, and I snipped up here to get that leaf off, and then I snipped at the back of that swirl, and then that's that kind of piece that you get there. And then I've snipped a little bit the other side and put that down here as well to create the sort of flatter portions. And you can definitely do that just with the archway as well, not having to do it doubled. You can use that kind of flatter piece to do that as well. And you've also got these larger curved branches here, but they curve in one direction and there's only one of them. But to combat that and get them to give a little bit of curvature in the other direction, even though this curve is going that way, I've used it this way because I've just ripped off or snipped off the bottom portion of it, and then it doesn't curve so much. It's more of a straight piece, and you can add it in there. And I think all the tiny little foliage pieces just really add extra accents as well. And the way I kind of do this kind of thing, and even with this as well, I just cut loads of all of the different little foliages, the archways and the larger foliage pieces and the ivy. I just had a little session of cutting loads of them from the 3 greens from the kit. So you've got the pine tree green, the avocado green, and then the holly green mirror card, and just cut loads of them and have them on your desk. And then when you're doing something like this, you can just pop these little tiny ones in, and it really adds to it. Whereas if you had to go to the effort to then die cut another little tiny die like that, you probably wouldn't bother. But it adds such a nice little cute element just doing that. And like this bit here was the top of a piece of ivy where I'd used the bottom of it over here because I wanted something to fill in where 2 stalks met. So I just used the top bit here, and it's added in a tiny little element as well. So it's quite nice to have those small little pieces on hand to fill in little areas that you think need a little bit of extra detail on them as well, or a little bit of extra filler to kind of fill in a space. And then I've just sort of used a scattering of the different red and purple flowers all the way around, using the largest ones, the middle ones, the smaller, and then the tiny flowers as well. And then I have actually put Nouveau drops in the centre, but because I hadn't used pink on this card, I just went with the gloss white drops for the centres of them because there was white on the rest of the card. And then again, because I didn't want to detract from the gorgeous foliage and stuff, I wanted butterflies on there, so I stamped them just in black on white and then cut them out, and it just gives a really lovely subtle kind of effect, really. I mean, you know they're butterflies, they don't have to be coloured in. It's nice to just use them as a black and white kind of design to make the main focus of the card the gorgeous foliage and stuff as well. So I'll pass you on to Past Me to show you a couple more samples. So these are a few of the cards that I've created. This one's a really simple one, using the pattern paper, the sort of red stripy side, to be like wallpaper inside a house. And so then this is sort of the outside of the window looking into the house. And for the actual shutters, I decided to emboss the detail into them rather than die cutting it. So the way you do this is you cut the actual shutter die, which just gives you the 2 shutters with the slit down the centre. Then you take your 2 intricate patterns and place them on top of that die cut. And then you use the sandwich with your tangerine of the green plate, the squidgy green rubber mat, and your white plate as well. And then you can get this embossed kind of, or debossed kind of detail in there. It does crack a little bit, so if you wanted to disguise that, I mean, it's not too noticeable. I mean, I think I can see it more in person than you can on the camera. There's just tiny little white bits of the core of that card showing. But if you did want to disguise that a little bit further, you get this pink Orchid Nouveau drop in the kit. You could actually rub some of that over the top to give it even more of a metallic kind of finish, and to kind of hide any of those white bits too if you wanted to. Or you could play around with a different plate combination as well to try and get it to work, and like practice on a scrap bit of card before you go on to your actual shutter one, so you're just using smaller bits of card. You can definitely do that as well. And then for this one, I cut the aperture into my white front panel, and then I cut the interior window die just into a rectangle of the they're called Firestone Iridescent card, and then I've just layered the aperture on top of that so that the sort of frame is behind this front aperture instead of cutting it separately. But you can do it either way works nicely, so I decided to do it this way for this one though. And then I've also used the little butterflies, and they have the stamp and the die that coordinates, and the way that I was cutting these out to try and get the perfect placement is cut one of the butterflies out from another piece of card first. So I've got this one where I was cutting some flowers as well, and then take this and line this aperture up over your stamped image and use a bit of tape to secure it in place. Then you can take your actual die with another piece of tape and slot that in, and then die cut that, and you'll get the perfect positioning of the little die cut. Because of the way they've done this die, there's, you can't see the stamped image in there, and it's not easy to kind of line it up just through those tiny little holes. So that's the best way of doing it if you want to get your butterflies die cut out. And then they look really sweet just scattered across the window. And then I've just used the little hello sentiment on this one. So that's really simple kind of card. Then because of the really big mixture of colours that's in this kit, like going from greens, purples, pinks, reds, blacks, golds, you know, there's quite a lot to choose from. So this one I focused on the reds and pinks. And then this one, I thought I'd go for a little bit more like kind of gothy, could be Halloweeny kind of theme as well, and so I went for the black, the pink and the purple, and I think this works really nicely together. And this is using the dies that kind of create more of a door looking shutter rather than it just being a partial shutter. This is more like the whole thing opening up, and I tried to use some of the Nuvo in different ways on this as well. So firstly, the brick background, I'll show you this piece that I've got ready to make another card, which hopefully you will have already seen before this one, but I started doing a little brick background on here. These are all leftovers from the windows, so I've been cutting out quite a few of the windows just from white card, and you're left with all of these rectangles, which can be little bricks. They're not quite all the same size. Some of them are narrower and some of them are thicker, but I think that gives quite a nice quirky kind of look. And if you put them a little bit wonky as well, I think it gives quite a nice effect. To get the colour on this, I was using Distress Oxide pumice stone and also a little bit of the normal Distress ink as well, and one of my Nouveau large blending brushes. And then I also came over with some of the gold mousse from the kit. So this is the Indian gold little mousse, and you get the brush in there as well. So you can just about fit that brush head into the pot. It does give a cool like stippling effect inside the pot actually. You've got all the little holes in there. But you can just dip your brush into that, and then I was swirling it over the top, and it kind of picks up gold on the edges of the bricks, which I thought was a really cool effect. And I've done the exact same thing on this piece here as well, but I thought I'd show you on that one because it's kind of easier to see. But we've got the bricks going all the way around the aperture of this window. And then I've actually also added this aperture over the top of this piece with 3D foam, so it gives a bit more dimension as well. So you can see there's actually 3D foam between the black and the brickwork. And then for the black windows, I cut the intricate detail from the pearlescent black card, and then I cut the solid ones from the mirror card, so that you've kind of got that difference, but it's all kept with that same monochromy kind of look, and it sort of gives like raw iron gates sort of look. This would look fantastic actually if you didn't put the solid behind and you kept them as individual, and then you made like the secret garden behind it. That would look fantastic as well. And you could actually, if you got, it was called the Wilderness Adventures, I think, and it created, there was two of them. There was like a river looking one, and there was one, I think there was also a bridge in the river looking one, and then there was lots of trees in the other one, and they had lots of cute little critters that were dies as well, like squirrels, I think there was a hedgehog and a tortoise, stuff like that. If you were going to do like a secret garden kind of theme, that would look really cool inside this, and I think those dies have been on offer recently on the Tonic website, so you might have already got hold of them as well. And I'm sure there's been other dies throughout different bits and pieces that have got like little animals and stuff in. Or what about some of your stamp clubs as well? You could bring in like little characters from that and have a hidden scene behind there too. So loads of different ways of bringing in different elements. But anyway, I got off topic there. But to kind of give this a sort of slightly more Halloween-y kind of theme, I did purple vines instead of green going around, so I've just mixed lots of them together, and this one I actually chopped in half to use two portions of it down here to create more of a flat element to go around the bottom of the window as well. Then I've also used black, pink and purple as the little flowers too, and then on the outside I've done bloom and grow, and then on the inside I have done wishing you a bright and beautiful day, and then the background in here is that pink orchid Nouveau crystal drop squished all over the background, and I actually did two of them. I squished them together. Let me get you the other one to show you. So this was the other half of it. And then I sprinkled in some of the gorgeous purple shimmer glitter into there as well. That one I went more heavy-handed with. This one I was a little bit lighter-handed with. And then whilst it was still wet, I also pushed in some purple die-cut flowers as well. And I just thought that made quite a nice background to sort of go behind this too. So you've got all that sparkle sort of hidden in there. So that's kind of a slightly different sort of colour scheme. I mean, I guess you would think to cut these out of black to be raw iron, but I don't know whether you'd think to pair it with pink and purple together, but I think that works really nicely. But do like try these kind of ideas out with different colours as well, because definitely bringing the greens in and turning it into more of like an actual realistic looking foliage and stuff like this one would also give a brilliant look as well. So having the black instead of the gold frame here would look really good too. And then I wanted to do at least one card where I tried to kind of tie all of the colours together in one. I mean, I could have done the black frame and then that would have brought the black in as well. But I wanted to try out a gold framed window because it kind of looks a little bit like it's then, you know, a really light wood sort of colour as well. And I wanted to use the other side of the patterned paper as kind of like the wallpaper kind of look on the inside of the card as well. And you can see on this one I actually made it a window card. So you could definitely, if you raise this front panel up with 3D foam, you could definitely make that a shaker window that you could then see through, but I actually just left it as the actual window portion. And there's actually 3 layers on this as well, so that's why I've just left it without acetate, because it's pretty strong with the 3 layers of cardstock, because I cut it once into the card blank, once into my white panel, and then I also cut the frame out with the outside edge as well and layered them all up, so it gives a really nice sturdy sort of window there. And then this one I've gone much more realistic and done all of the green foliage, cutting it from the 3 different greens from the kit. I've added in a little bit of the ivy in there as well as those larger foliage pieces. And then for the plant pots on the sort of windowsill, I have actually, I think it's going to depend what colour Aqua Flow you get in your kit, but I got the cinnamon stick, which is the perfect colour to colour in your terracotta plant pots. So that's how I coloured them in, just with the Aqua Flow. I did one solid layer over the whole flower pot, and then I came back in with a couple more layers just underneath the rim of the flower pot to try and give it that sort of dimension that the rim is further forwards than the main part of the pot. And then to make them look a little bit special and to go with the gold frame that's on here, I don't know if you can tell, yeah you can, I stippled on some of the gold mousse. So like I was just showing you how I'd used this brush in the pot, I just got some on there and then just dabbed it over the top, and it gave that gorgeous like stippled effect onto the flower pots as well, which I think works really nicely. And then I've just layered up lots of the different elements, so you've got some of the ivy there, you've got some of the little flowers with, I've put the extra little flowers on top of them. I love that Tonic have done that, giving you the extra little flowers, so it means you haven't got to cut everything in green and then cut everything in multiple colours and snip off the flowers and stick them back on and stuff. You've actually got all the separate little flowers as well, which I think is really, really helpful. And it worked really nicely for when you're building up your own kind of scene as well, because you can just add the flowers wherever you want to hide joins and stuff too. Like there was a join just here, there was a join here, there was a join here, there was also a join here, but I didn't want it to look like, you know, 4 clusters right in a square. So I just used some of the tiny flowers here and then decided to make another cluster up there to sort of balance it. But yeah, I really love how this one sort of turned out. It's very sort of cottagey kind of looking card. And I've just used that little plaque that says home. Well, you can put anything in it you want really, you could stamp in it too. And then I've just used a white gel pen to trace through it to kind of tie the white from the background and the white pattern on the patterned paper or wallpaper inside the house as well. So yeah, I really like how this turned out. And I also think, because you've done a window card here, what you could do is take a thin strip of cardstock, maybe colour it with these same terracotta kind of colours, and put it inside here and make it be a shelf, and add more plant pots or just one plant pot with some lots of trailing ivy or something inside the card, so you'd actually see it through the window as well. I think that would be a cool kind of way of using it. Or if you had it was a craft kit from quite a long time ago, I think it was called something like Pet Window, and there was, I'm sure there was a little cat silhouette in there. A little cat sitting somewhere inside the house would look really cute, or even putting it behind the window just here and having a little cat sitting there too would look really adorable. So yeah, definitely go back and have a look at other things that you have to try and mix and match them together as well. So those were these 3 samples. Hopefully I've already shown you some more as well, and I will pass you on to future me to finish off the video. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this unboxing video for Tonic Craft Kit number 54, which is the Wildflower Garden. I know a lot of you are already subscribed, but in the off chance that you're not, I will leave links below the video for you to be able to go and have a look at what subscriptions are all about and decide if you want to buy a one-off kit. You can do the monthly subscription or you can do the quarterly subscription as well. So I will leave affiliate links to all of that below the video too. And I often try to link to as many of the different items as I can. Like I will link to these brushes and the little brushes as well in case you're after those, and any of the extra like Nouveau Elements and Craft Perfect papers and things. I'll make sure they're all linked in the description as well. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again in the next video. Bye!